listening to your show.
The point that there's limited news
I just
coverage.
want to know what your viewpoint is.
Because major news organizations have been told on, what they can report on.
The People's Voice. Welcome back. Welcome back to The People's Voice. I am Trey Evans, and I appreciate you tuning in today. Today I wanted to kind of explore the topic of college education, and specifically the cost of college education here in the United States. Just full disclosure, I am a college graduate as well. I hold 2 degrees from the legendary HBCU, Bowie State University, communications major. So I hold a bachelor's in broadcast communications as well as organizational communications. So I just want to put that out there first, so it doesn't sound like I am in any way anti-education, because I do firmly believe that education is one of the keys. It's just one of the keys that can help to ascend individuals from, and I'm speaking specifically financially, help propel individuals to generate income that provides you not a minimum wage, not a livable wage, but a wage that will, or a salary, if you will, that will allow you to truly take care of your family and to enjoy some of the extras that life has to offer. So I am in no way against education, and I wanted to make that clear. But I did want to talk about college education, and specifically the cost of college education, because I was doing some research, looking into, various topics that I want to cover on this podcast, and education is definitely one that I want to cover because of the cost of it. As many of you know, and for those of you who listen around the world, you may not know, those of you here in the U.S. know, the cost of college is very expensive. And over the last decade, well, actually over the last 30 years, based on some of the reports I've seen, it's gotten exponentially expensive. And I really wanted to find out, well, what's the cause of it, right? Because, again, I'm a college graduate, and, I went through the process, so I know what the process entails. But some of the dollar amounts that I've been seeing regarding universities, private and public, that charge for tuition have been astronomical. I mean, I was looking at one study where they basically went through the top 10 colleges in the U.S., or at least the top 10 most expensive colleges in the U.S. And I'm going through these numbers. University of Chicago, $81,000 a year. Columbia University, $79,000 a year. Harvard Mudd College, which I will be honest with you, I had never heard of until I did this research. Hey, feel how you want to feel. I never heard of the school. Same thing, $79,000, and the list just goes on and on and on. Northwestern, $78,000. Bernard College, $78,000. Scripps College, $77,000. Brown University, $77,000. USC, $77,000. UPenn, $77,000. Dartmouth, $77,000. So I'm saying to myself, what is in these universities and colleges that require them to charge this astronomical amount of money? And it is an astronomical amount of money, specifically and particularly when you're talking about young men and women who are starting out in life, and they they have some type of insight or passion that they want to pursue, and I guess gain the credentials to pursue that further as they ascend into adulthood, and they are pushed up against a number like this. I can't imagine at 18 years old finding out that I would have to pay $80,000 a year to obtain my dream. Now, again, one of the keys, because I'm a firm believer that education is not the only key to success. So please do not in any way misunderstand my messaging here. Like I said, I am not against education, but I'm also not a person who believes that education is the only way to ascend financially here in the United States. But to going back, to be that young and to be up against this type of number, it's gotta be daunting. My daughter, who recently is, or I should say currently attending a college, I won't say what college it is, but she's attending a college. And, fortunately for us, we were able to plan for this, right? So the number is not as crushing. Now, let me be very clear. She's not attending an $80,000 a year university, because that was not in the plans, okay? But, we are able to help her with the college that she's chosen. It's a great college, very strong in academics, and a long history of producing great talent out of the university that she's attended. But I say that to say, I understand the cost of it, but if we were presented with that scenario where she wanted to attend an $80,000 a year college, I probably would have to say, no, sorry, you're going to have to do something else. And many people, and obviously many people in the United States, are up against that. I recently was just going through, as I said, doing the research, and I'm trying to find out, well, why is college so expensive, right? Because, again, I've been on college campuses in the past, it currently, and I'll be on them in the future as my daughter continues to, transcend through her journey. And I'm like, what is it in the buildings that require this amount of money to be charged? And so, doing a little bit of research, I came across a short piece from NBC Today, actually. And it was just a article trying to go into the reasonings why college tuition is so expensive. And it was interesting. They pointed out 4 different reasons why it was expensive. And the first couple, I understand, right? The first one was basically after the Great Recession in 2009, there was less state funding, because a lot of these universities receive state funding that helps them to subsidize the tuition, and a lot of that went away because that state funding money had to be allocated, obviously, towards, I guess, what they call more priority needs, such as health care and Social Security benefits. So, okay, completely understand that. But it also pointed out that even though that happened back in 2009, states are now receiving more funding for education, but they haven't lowered their tuition. Tuition just basically keeps increasing. I believe in some of the reports I saw, it's like at a 2% increase per year. I mean, 2% increase per year, 10 years, that's a 20% increase in 10 years. That's a significant amount of money. So that was one of the reasons. They said, well, states just don't have the funding and they can't provide as many need-based scholarships or additional scholarships for subsidizing some of those costs. Okay, fine. We'll go with that. The second reason was most people are seeking out higher education. And so immediately for me, because I am a business person and have been that, pretty much my entire adult life. So when I see most people are seeking higher education, and that's one of the causes of education costs increasing, for me, that's immediately that sets my sirens off, because now we're talking about supply and demand, right? And education, in my opinion, should not be treated as a product or treated as a product or commodity, if you will, right? So basically, what they're detailing in this article that I'm reading is that, once colleges and universities basically identify, hey, we've got a whole line of customers looking for our product, right? Just to break it down into simple terms, that means we could up the price a little bit, right? That's kind of what's going on now in the used car market, right? Used cars are just ridiculously priced right now in this economy that we're in. And apparently this is the same strategy that's going into higher education. And so the increase is not just lack of funding, but it's like supply demand. Hey, we can get a little bit more because we got a lot of customers going through the door, which is very disappointing to find out. Not to find out, but very disappointing to understand, because, obviously I know it's not just not enough money at the schools, but doing this research to uncover that was definitely troublesome. Matter of fact, it was a quote from, who was this from? This was from Michael Henson, who's the director of Brookings Institution's Brown Center on Education Policy. He basically said, once you factor in that more students are going to school, then it becomes a much more evident gap in funding that has emerged over the last 2 or 3 decades. So basically, more people coming in, schools are allowed or have been charging more money for students to attend their universities, which is definitely disappointing. The last two were, something I guess we understand, right? Colleges are expanding their offering. So just like any other business, colleges now, and for those of you who are on college campuses, this, especially at large campuses around the country, or even small ones now. And for those of you that haven't, I encourage you to walk on a college campus these days. It's like a resort. Like, you go into some of these places, they've got their gyms have every workout machine that you can think of, rock climbing, tanning salons, it's whirlpools. It's like, is this college or is this like a resort? And colleges are using these expanded offerings as a recruitment tool, right? Because they want to bring in more people. Hence the second point that was made in this article. Bring in more people, charge more money. Now, they'll put it under capital improvements, technological improvements, but they're really doing these things to bring people in. And this really has nothing to do directly with the impact of education. You can't tell me that students need an elliptical machine in order to excel in their education pursuits. I just don't buy that. I just don't buy that. And then the last and not least, of course, was the student loan system, right? And what's actually been going on is everybody's getting approved for student loans. When's the last time you've heard someone tell you, hey, I tried to get approved for a student loan and I got turned down? Rarely ever happens. Rarely ever happens because it's business, right? So tuition is getting more expensive because schools now know, hey, if we can charge up to XYZ amount, the potential student is going to get a loan anyway, and we all make out and it's all good. So those were 4 reasons that I read on this article on today.com. And I'll just recap them again. It basically, the article was, why is the cost of higher education rising? And number 1 was less higher education funding from states. 2, more people were seeking out education, more customers, more demand. 3 was colleges are expanding their offerings, dorm rooms with color with TVs and entertainment dens and things of that nature. And then the student loan system, basically more people are getting approved for loans, and this is allowing more colleges to charge as much as they need to because they know that the parents of the children or the child that's heading to college themselves, or the adult, let me not discriminate because I went back to college as an adult as well, they're getting approved for more loans, so this allows them to be able to charge more. None of these things that I've just covered has anything to do with education, if anybody is keeping track here. And then I started to say, well, how much money is actually being charged? Like, how much? Because I hear about the student loan crisis, right? You hear about it all the time. And I want to play 2 clips. The first clip is from CBS Evening News, and basically it's a collection of kids that are now in college, and they're speaking basically about, or in college now, or have gone through college, and they're speaking about how much they've paid and the sacrifices that they've had to make in order to attend college. Listen to this.
About 134.
I owe $108,137.48 in student loans.
$1,000.
Minimum wage, even 2 jobs wasn't enough.
This will undoubtedly affect me far into the future.
Now it is making it extremely hard for me to change careers.
A huge part of every decision that I
make. If you want a good job, you have to go to college, but nobody really talks about the price.
Everybody talks about you got to go to college to get a job, but nobody talks about the price of college, except for the colleges as they put together their pricing strategies. So that was one clip I wanted to play. I just wanted for you to hear directly how this is affecting young people. These are, remember, these literally are people that are going from 18 or 17. This is their first experience into the world, and you're going in knowing that when you come out on the end of this thing, you already are going to have something on your back that's going to prevent you, or at least cause you to have sleepless nights. I mean, I don't know how else you say it. But here's another clip I wanted to play. This is the amount of student debt that is owed currently in the United States of America.
For more than 44 million Americans who currently owe $1.6 trillion in student debt. And research shows that it'll take each one of us an average of 18 and a half years to pay off our loans.
18 and a half years to pay off the student loan that you incurred starting at 18 years old. And that's on average. I still know people that at this point in their life are paying student loans that went to college back in the 90s. Okay? Like literally, I still know people who are paying student loans, right? They tried to do the deferral. Some of them went back to school to get additional education 10 years after that. But 18 and a half years, you'll be saddled with student debt on average. Okay, so I've ranted and I've gone on my typical rant. What is it that we can do about it? This type of change only comes from massive communication to not only the colleges, but once again, to our senators, our representatives. These type of changes don't come about just because you have outrage. There has to be actual action behind making these type of changes, right? Because I question, what is the college truly trying to attempt with these higher tuitions? What is really the end goal? Is the end goal to provide the quality education? Or is it just to line the pockets of the presidents and the various high-ranking executives? Because that's basically what they are at the universities, the VPs of this and the VPs of that. Really, at this point, serious change has to happen. And I think the only way that that happens is through not only conversation, but action at the local, state, and federal level, because something really needs to be done. Well, that's my commentary for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment on my socials. You can reach me at I am Trey Evans on Twitter and Instagram, Trey Evans on Facebook. Drop me a line. Let me know what you think. I appreciate your time today. Again, my name is Trey Evans. I am the people's voice. The people's voice.